The candle closes red again. You've been watching the same chart for 4 hours, and you still don't know what you're looking at. Your roommate told you about this 3 weeks ago. He already doubled his money. You have $400 in a Coinbase account and a phone full of screenshots from Reddit threads you don't fully understand. And somewhere in the last 72 hours, you stop sleeping at normal times. Level 1, the believer. Your brother-in-law mentions Bitcoin at Thanksgiving, and by December, you've put in $600. Not because you've done research, because everyone else seems to know something you don't, and that feeling is unbearable. You watch YouTube videos at 1.5 times speed. The guy in the thumbnail is standing in front of a Lamborghini. You know this is probably a bad sign. You watch anyway. You buy something called SHIB because the chart is going up, and the comments say it's going to the moon. And you don't yet know that going to the moon is a thing everyone says about everything, always. Your portfolio goes up 30% in 11 days. You tell your girlfriend. She asks if you should sell it. You explain, with more confidence than you have any right to, that you're a long-term investor now. You use the word hodl without irony. You have been in the market for 11 days. Then it drops 40% in a weekend. Not because of anything you did, not because of anything anyone did. It just does that. You watch $180 of unrealized gains become $60 of unrealized losses, and something inside you goes very still. You don't sell. You tell yourself this is what long-term investors do. You are holding a coin named after a dog. You do not examine this closely. What you don't know yet. The market doesn't know you exist. You are not in a relationship with it. It doesn't care how long you watch the charts or how much you wanted it to work out. This is the thing nobody tells you, because knowing it doesn't help you, and not knowing it keeps you trading. The portfolio doesn't recover for 3 months. By then, you've bought 4 more things, and you can't quite remember why. Level 2, the student. You open your first trade in January, and by March, you have a system. You've read about RSI. You know what a moving average is. You've memorized the difference between a hammer candle and a doji, and you can explain it to people who haven't heard of either, which gives you a feeling you will later recognize as dangerous. You start paper trading. You're good at it. Your paper portfolio is up 200% in 6 weeks, and you know intellectually that paper trading isn't real, but you also kind of think it means something, that you're good at it. It does not mean that. You join a Discord. There are 17,000 people in it. Someone posts a call. BNB, entry at $312, target $380, stop at $290. And you watch it play out exactly as predicted. And the feeling you get is not unlike the first time a song you loved came on the radio. Like the world is confirming something about you specifically. You deposit $2,000. You follow 3 more calls. 2 of them work. You make $800 in a week. You quit the paper trading. You tell yourself you graduated. Then you follow a call on something called Luna. Not the algorithmic stablecoin, just a different coin with the same ticker that someone in the Discord misposted. And you lose $400 in 40 minutes because you didn't read the contract address, and the person who posted the call has already been banned, and the chat has moved on to the next thing. You sit with the $400 for a while. You think about what you did wrong. You make a list. The list is 6 items long, and none of them are the real reason, which is that you gave a stranger on the internet control over your money and called it research. You keep going. You've already learned too much to stop now. That's the trap, and you don't see it as one yet. Level 3, the grinder. By your second year, you have a real setup. 2 monitors, TradingView Pro, a spreadsheet where you track every trade, entry, exit, P&L, what you were thinking, what you should have been thinking. The spreadsheet is 53 rows long. Your win rate is 54%. You've stopped following calls. You have rules. You don't enter above the 200-day moving average. You risk 1% per trade. You take profits in thirds. These are real rules, and you follow most of them. And on the months you follow all of them, you do better, which should be a lesson, but somehow isn't quite enough of one. You're making around $800 a month on average. Some months, $2,000. Some months you give it all back and then some. You keep a rolling average, so the bad months feel like data instead of disasters. You stop talking about crypto to people who don't trade, not because you've lost interest, because you've lost the ability to explain it in a way that sounds healthy. Your friends who put $200 into Bitcoin 2 years ago and forgot about it have made more than you have. You do not think about this for longer than you have to. The thing you figured out that people below you haven't, the market is not a puzzle to be solved. It's a system to be survived. The edge isn't knowing more. The edge is losing less on the days it goes against you. You learned this the hard way at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday when you held a leveraged position through an unexpected Fed announcement and watched $3,400 become $800 in the time it takes to eat a sandwich. You ate the sandwich anyway. You didn't have the stomach for it. You ate it anyway. Your mother asks if you're still doing the crypto thing. You say yes. She asks if it's going well. You say it's fine. This is true and not true simultaneously, in the way that most things are. Level 4, the operator. Somewhere around month 22, you stop reacting to price moves, not because you're disciplined, because you've been scorched enough times that the nerve endings don't fire the same way. A $12,000 swing in your portfolio over a weekend feels like weather now. Uncomfortable weather, but weather. You're managing around $80,000 across multiple positions. You have a thesis for each one. Not this will go up, a real thesis. On-chain metrics, token unlocks, protocol revenue, narrative timing. You know which wallets to watch, and you have alerts set for when they move. You've stopped thinking about what you want the market to do and started thinking about what it's going to do, regardless of what you want. People in the Discord are asking you for calls now. You give them a few, carefully. They work, mostly, and the ones that don't work hurt you more than they hurt the people who followed them, because you carry the weight of other people's money like a physical thing. You have a morning routine. You check funding rates before you check anything else. You have a list of things you don't do. No meme coins after a market-wide rally. No leverage on Fridays. No trading the first hour after a major announcement. These rules came from specific losses. The losses are their own kind of tuition, and you paid it, and the diploma is a list of prohibitions. Your girlfriend asks you to come to bed. You tell her you just need 20 more minutes. This is the 8th time this week you've said this. She goes to bed. You stay. This is not the moment it cost you something. That moment already happened, quietly, a few weeks back, when she stopped asking what you were working on. You're not rich yet, but you're serious. There's a difference, and you know it. And knowing it feels like standing on a ledge that doesn't have a railing. Level 5, the professional. You file as a business. You have an accountant who specializes in digital assets. You have a lawyer you've called twice. Your average position size is $40,000. Your portfolio sits at $680,000 on a good day and $510,000 on a bad one. And the distance between those numbers stopped feeling meaningful about 6 months ago. Numbers at this scale don't produce feelings the way they used to. They produce decisions. You make decisions. You don't follow anyone. You have people who follow you. 3 of them work for you now, in a loose sense. A developer who built your custom alerts dashboard. An analyst who pulls on-chain data and sends you morning reports. A kid named Marcus, who does nothing but watch order books on major pairs and texts you when something looks wrong. You pay them in a way that feels fair, but that you know is less than what their work is worth. And you tell yourself you'll fix that eventually. You stopped sleeping more than 6 hours around the time your portfolio crossed $400,000. It's not anxiety exactly. It's more like your brain has decided that the stakes are too high for full unconsciousness. You've tried melatonin. You've tried not looking at your phone after 10 p.m. That lasted 11 days, the phone thing. The analyst who wouldn't return your emails 14 months ago just sent you a DM with his personal number and an offer to share research. You save the number. You don't respond for 3 days. You respond eventually, warmly, because holding grudges is expensive, and you've learned to be expensive about different things. You don't talk about your portfolio size, not because you're humble, because the number changes the way people talk to you, And you need people to talk to you normally, and there are fewer and fewer of them. Level 6, the architect. You don't trade the way you used to. You trade the way people deploy capital. The distinction matters. You have positions you haven't looked at in 6 weeks because they're structured to not need you. You have a team of 5. 2 of them are smarter than you in specific ways you've learned to identify and use. You've structured your fund, informally, but it's a fund, with $4.2 million under management, mostly your own, a bit from 2 people you've known for years, who understood the terms and could afford to lose it. You sit on 3 advisory boards, 2 of them you believe in, 1 you're on because the founder is well connected, and that connection is worth more than the equity. You've made peace with this. The making peace with it was its own quiet transaction. A journalist wants to profile you. You decline, not out of modesty, because attention at this level is a liability that doesn't show up on a balance sheet until it's already cost you something. There are decisions you make now that you couldn't have made 3 years ago, not because you know more, though you do, but because you've lost something that used to stop you. A certain kind of hesitation, a certain way of imagining the person on the other side of the trade. You don't imagine them anymore. This is efficient. This is also the thing you can't get back. You meet someone at a conference who reminds you of yourself at level 2, excited, over-researched, absolutely certain they found the edge. You watch them explain their system. You remember the feeling of having a system. You ask them one question. What's their maximum drawdown in the last 6 months? They don't track that yet. You nod. You don't tell them what the question means. You let them find out the same way you did. This is not cruelty. You've just stopped confusing honesty with helpfulness. Level 7, the weight of it. You wake up at 5:47 a.m., not because of an alarm. The alarm is set for 6:15. Your body stopped waiting for the alarm somewhere around year 4. The market is flat. Asia closed flat. Europe opens flat. You check 3 charts the way you check your phone in a waiting room, not for information, just to have something to do with your hands. You have $11 million deployed across 7 strategies. On paper, this is a success. On paper, you have achieved the thing you set out to achieve, plus several things you didn't know to set out toward. The paper version of your life looks correct. You make a cup of coffee, the same kind you've ordered for the last 5 years, since you found the brand and decided it was good and stopped trying others. You drink half of it standing at the kitchen window, watching the light come up over the parking structure across the street. Your apartment costs $8,400 a month. You barely see it. You have picked this apartment because it is close to nothing specific. Your phone has 42 unread messages. You read none of them before 7 a.m. This is a rule you have kept for 2 years because a therapist suggested it and you found out she was right. The therapist is one of 3 people who talks to you the way people used to talk to you before the number got large. Your sister calls on Sunday mornings. You have not missed a call in 4 years. Last Sunday, you were mid-position during an unexpected liquidation cascade, a $900,000 swing that needed management, and you didn't pick up. You called her back on Monday. She said it was fine. It was fine. But the Sunday after, when her name came up on your screen, there was a half second where you looked at the charts first. You noticed the half second. That's the thing about this level. You notice everything. You just don't always stop it. Someone asks you, at a dinner, whether it was worth it. They mean it casually. They're asking the way people ask things they expect to have simple answers. You tell them yes. You say it quickly, the way you've learned to say things you've stopped examining. You reach for your water glass. Outside, the city is making its regular noises. Somewhere in it, a person is sitting at a laptop at midnight, looking at a chart that's going up, feeling like they finally found the thing that makes sense. They have $600 in the account. They think this is the beginning of something. They're right about that part. The coffee goes cold. You leave it on the counter. You've never liked it, you think. Not really. You've just never stopped ordering it.